What I came down here to talk about was the shabby treatment that Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel has gotten when he has been here twice now to visit with the president. We met with Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, this week, the Foreign Affairs Committee on which I serve, and we talked to him about the threat of Iran, which is a threat not only to Israel and the Middle East, it's a threat to the entire world. We get about 30 or 40% of our energy from the Middle East, and if that goes up in smoke because of a war, we're going to suffer economically because we are not energy independent. One of my colleagues was down here talking about not being able to drill offshore or in the Anwar to move toward energy independence. And we're not. We're still dependent on the Middle East and South America and Mr. Chavez in Venezuela, people that don't like us at all. And yet we still depend on them, and we're not moving toward energy independence. So what happens if Israel is forced into doing something about Iran and a war breaks out in that whole area? The whole world will suffer, and we will suffer economically because we won't have the energy with which to run our country and our economy. And so this is very important. Now, when the president meets with Bibi Netanyahu, it's obvious by his body language and the way he treats the Prime Minister of Israel that he doesn't agree with him on Israel's goals to preserve and protect their country. And that's not the way it should be. Because right now, Iran is not only trying to develop a nuclear weapon, and we think they're very, very close, but they're also trying to develop a delivery system that will not only hit targets in the Middle East like Israel, but targets in parts of Europe, and they're trying to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile that could hit parts of the United States. And if Iran gets nuclear weapons, all those countries around them are going to want to have nuclear weapons, and this world is going to be put on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust that nobody wants. This isn't baloney, folks. This is what's really going to happen, Mr. Speaker. And so we need to do everything we can to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. They are a terrorist state that has waged war along with Al-Qaeda and the Taliban against us and our freedoms and against Israel as well. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that they do not succeed. Those people are terrorists, and we're at war against terrorism. And so we have to be absolutely committed to stopping them from developing that nuclear capability. And that means we have to work with Israel, our only really strong ally in the Middle East, who wants to do something about this. And Bibi Netanyahu knows what's at stake. The millions of lives of Israelis that are there will be the first target, and they will be blown up and attacked if Iran gets nuclear weapons. And Israel's going to have to take action. And if they take action by themselves, it could be a catastrophic situation. They need our help. And the President of the United States should know that the majority of this Congress supports Israel's right to exist and supports them in their effort to stop Iran from developing nuclear capability. And so if the President were listening tonight, I would say this to him, Mr. Speaker. Mr. President, listen. The majority of both the House and the Senate supports giving Israel the ability to defend itself and to defend our interest in the Middle East, to work with us to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons that will threaten not only the Middle East, but the entire world. And I think, Mr. President, you ought to go out on the lawn of the White House and declare your support for Israel, their right to exist, their right to survive, and that we're with them to stop Iran from developing nuclear capability. And I yield back the balance of my time.